Hey, and welcome to the Izzy Chinche Show. I am so pumped that you tuned in. My goal with the show is to inspire and motivate you to the best of my abilities. I believe our world needs more leaders, and I believe that you, my listener, are a leader, and that you have the opportunity to impact your community and family by simply being you. I truly am here to try and serve and offer value to your life. And if you enjoy the show, it would mean the most to me if you could please either rate, subscribe, or share the show with anyone who you think might benefit from listening. Together, we can make this world a better place. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope you love today's episode. My 5 most life-changing books are the books that have had the most impact, I think, in my life. I have read quite a few books in my life. I actually now listen to books more than anything, but I do enjoy reading, which is funny because I never thought I would say that since I'm dyslexic and dysgraphic, and reading was pretty difficult for me growing up. But when I was about 18 years old, I started 75 Hard, which, if you know about that challenge, within the challenge, you have to read 10 pages of a personal development book every single day. And I did that, and then I got hooked on reading. So one of the books that I actually read during that time was called The Four Agreements. And that book was incredible. I've actually read it twice, and I already want to read it again. So the four agreements are: always do your best, don't take things personally, never make assumptions, and be impeccable with your word. And the one that stood out to me the most, and I think is something that I still try and work on as much as possible, is to not take things personally. And that's really, really hard. For some people, it's easy. They just don't take things personally. That's something that I have struggled to work on, or struggled with, just not taking things personally when it doesn't go your way, or someone's rude even, or directly tries to do something mean or unkind. Not taking it personally has, and trying at least to not take it personally, has freed up my life tremendously. And even with your family members, like even with your parents, like your parents are going to make mistakes. They're going to mess up. That's just, they're human, just like we are. And I think realizing that when the mistakes that my parents have made with me is not personal. It's not personal. It's just the mistakes that they made. And, the honor your word piece, and the not making assumptions and always trying your best, like those are also great pieces. But for me, taking nothing personally was like, wow, I take so many things personally that I really don't need to take personally. So learning to not take things personally is very, very valuable, and one of the best things that I did learn from that book. The second book that was incredibly impactful on my development was Extreme Ownership by Jocko. And I actually did read that book also during my first round of 75 Hard. And that book taught me a lot about leadership within the team, and realizing, like, I have no say when I point the finger, but when I look in the mirror, I can at least change something. And it really got me like thinking how unproductive it is to blame. Like it serves me 0% to blame. Like when I take ownership, I have a say in the matter, and I can, change things. And in my coaching job now, what I do, it helps me so much, because if something doesn't work out, if a play doesn't, go as it should, or a player isn't understanding something, it's not the player's fault. It's my fault. I didn't communicate clearly, or there was some sort of mistake. So Extreme Ownership was an incredible book, and I definitely recommend, if you haven't read it, to read it. I also, after I read that one, I read The Dichotomy of Leadership, which it's not on my top 5 because I have other ones, but that was also really good read. The third book is Believe It by Jamie Lima. And she actually has another book that is about to drop, or has already dropped, that's called Worthy. And I definitely want to read that one as well. But this book was so impactful on me because this woman had so many things get in her way, and she never let it stop her from actually achieving her dreams. So from an inspirational standpoint, I was like, that is my number one book. Like it just inspired me so much. Just listening to her story and hearing what she went through and the amount of rejection that she faced. And she just kept going. And she had like tough rejection over and over and over again. But she never gave up on her dream. She just believed it. And for me, I was like, oh my gosh, this is hitting me deep. Like, yeah, I believe in my dream. I believe what I'm going after. So if you want a book that's just very inspirational and you want to hear about a story of an entrepreneur who faced a lot of adversity and chose to just keep going and keep going, I highly recommend that book. The next book is The Alchemist. This book I listened to probably about a year and a half ago, and it's one of the first fiction books that I've ever read and was like super into. Most of my reading or listening is, some sort of personal growth type book, but this one was not, but I still feel like it helped me grow so much. I would say the biggest thing that I learned from the book was you can take any situation, even situations that you didn't want, didn't expect, and they can still help you get closer to the goals that you have. They can get you one step closer, because the character in the book, like, he had things that didn't go as planned. He had things, come up. He ended up like working at this random shop. He didn't think he was going to, but he got creative and he expanded the shop and he made it even better. And then he moved on. And I loved it because it was like, man, just this ordinary person is just taking everything in stride and trying to make the most of it and learning these amazing, deep lessons and in like simple life situations. And I just loved it. I thought it was a really good book, and I'm not sure why, but it like really, really inspired me, even though it was just a fictional book. I think just because it was about someone who's ordinary, who lived an extraordinary life. And it also, impressed the importance of exploration and travel. And I love to travel and I love to explore. And this person like went all over the place and took the chances to travel, to get out, to see new things. And I love it. And I think everyone should travel, everyone should see new things, because it's so educational. Book number 5 that has changed my life 100% hands down is the Bible, and specifically Proverbs. Now, whether you believe in it or don't believe in it, there's value there, and especially in the Book of Proverbs. I've read that book, I'd say probably about 30 times. I just started reading it as soon as I could read. And it was just simple. It made sense to me. And I'm reading it right now. Like I just go through it, whenever, and there's so much wisdom in that book. And like I said, whether you believe in it or not, there's value in that book. Obviously the entire Bible, but for me specifically, Proverbs has been incredibly impactful in my life. There's just so many parables and so many examples, and it talks like so much about wisdom and how to become wise, and just simple verses like listen to the wise and become wise, right? Like there's just so much value there. So I think that would be the number 5. But if you're not a reader, you can always listen to books. I think it's really valuable and helpful. And if you're interested in reading any books, those are my top 5. Thank you for listening. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, I would greatly appreciate if you could share this episode with 5 people you think could benefit from the show. Also, please feel free to connect with me on Instagram at izzychinche or my website at izzychinche.com. Thank you so much for being you. Keep being a leader, making this world a better place.